My name is Thorsten Overgaard. I'm a Danish photographer. I travel the world taking photographs and teaching photography. Today I'm in Paris and I'll talk about writing to be read. Before I get into it, below the video there is free downloads. You simply put in your email and click, and in a few minutes you have the free downloads. The free downloads today is presets and styles for Lightroom and Capture One to give you beautiful black and white tones and also color tones, and I call it the Leica look, and it's the presets that I made for myself to do fast editing to get the Leica look. There's also a book I wrote about famous photographers and iconic photographs, and that one too is free today. Simply just put in your email and press click and you have the book in a few minutes. I'm in Paris this week and I've been doing a workshop here, and I've also been walking around in Paris and taking photographs. Of course, this is the ideal city to do it in, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why we photograph and maybe mainly where to put your photograph, because that is a line that goes together, that once you decided you want a camera and maybe you didn't exactly know why, but you just felt like you needed a camera, and then you're starting taking photographs and maybe you wonder, what should I do with them? Paris is an inspiration in more than one way. You could say it's a beautiful city. It's very easy to photograph here. I lived here for a couple of months 2 years ago during the COVID, and I just put in a rhythm of just going out and photograph late at night or later in the evening, just before sunset, the last 1.5 to 2 hours before sunset, because the light was really beautiful and I could walk to a new neighborhood each day. And there's a lot of photographs you can make there. I mean, you can hardly miss to get inspired. A couple of days ago I went basically 1 hour's drive outside of the center of Paris. That would be 2 hours if I walked, and that's what I did on the way back. I walked back, and it's very interesting that it gave me a new view on Paris and, you could say, culture. So if you imagine you see Paris from above, it's almost like seeing the ear rings or tree rings of a tree, you know, where you cut a tree and you can see how old the tree is, and you can also see what happened in the history of the tree and pollution and everything. And the interesting thing is, if you imagine that you walk, I would say about 40 minutes from the center of Paris, then you kind of get out of the beautiful Paris that we think of as Paris. So I mean, you start with Louvre and Notre Dame and Louis this and that and Paul II and so on. That's back 1200 years ago, because it's year 1200 they built those things. And as you walk out, you see all those beautiful buildings, and you see the city wall, which is kind of made at some point where they wanted to protect this rich city. And then you keep walking, and then you start getting to neighborhoods and buildings that is not really very Paris. They're actually ugly, and you would wish that you could say they're built in the 70s or something like that, but some of them are actually built very recently, and they're very boring and square and not very Parisian. So that's an interesting thing to see, and one thing, we have this idea that our culture goes forward, that for each year things gets better. Whenever a new iPhone is coming out, is an improvement of technology and culture and everything. And if you walk in Paris like that, you could say when you walk from 2 hours outside Paris and you walk back for 2 hours to the center, you're actually walking opposite the cultural development and time, because you're walking from present time back 1200 years to year 1200. And as you get closer and closer to 1200, it actually gets more grand and beautiful. Long story short, you could say that gives an idea of your responsibility and my responsibility to lift the culture, because apparently it doesn't happen automatically. That is the walk from outside Paris to the center of Paris, a proof of that culture is actually going, you could say, downhill, at least aesthetically, and maybe in other ways also. That's up to you to decide and evaluate. But it gives an idea, maybe, why do we photograph. So I saw this beautiful line the other day in a book I was reading, that the author said that he didn't read the traditional books, he read good books by authors that wrote to be read. And I like this expression that you write to be read. That you can write for many different reasons. You could write because you get paid for it. You could write because it's an assignment. You could write, as they often do in American university books, you write a lot of words because you get paid per word. But what if you write something, and some authors do, if you write something because you want to convey a message, an idea, you have something that you want to tell the world for some reason or another, and usually when you want to tell something just because you want to tell it, it comes from inside. I think it's very simple because I always wear a camera, so when I get up in the morning and I go anywhere, I have a camera with me, and whenever I feel inspiration, I take a photograph. And by inspiration I mean that when I walk down the street or I drive the car or I go somewhere, I suddenly get the idea that I should take a photograph of this. And usually I say the whole drill is about shortening the delay from that you sense or you see a photograph till you take it, because the more time you speculate about it, the more chance there is that you forget why you are taking the photograph or you lose the moment. And that's the simplicity of it, that when you feel like taking a photograph, you take the photograph. And you might think that's a little bit silly because somebody else could take the photograph, or they could do it better, or you don't really know why you're doing it, and that is kind of rubbish. You simply just have to take the photograph, and later when you edit the photograph you will see that it has something. And I'll actually try often that I take one photograph and I think, no, this is silly, I should be standing over here instead, that's a cleaner shot, or I should straighten the line, I should do this and that, and then maybe I come home with 10 photographs. And usually the first one I took is the least perfect, but it has some emotion, it has something to it that makes it an interesting and beautiful photograph. And photograph is not about sharpness or megapixel or anything, it's about communicating emotions. And you could say the unique thing about you and anybody is that when you walk down the street and you feel like taking a photograph, you make it into something that comes basically from inside you because you saw it. And even if other people saw something similar or stopped the same place to take the photograph, it wouldn't be the same photograph. And as you take photographs like that over the weeks and the months and the years, and you start to get an overview of the photograph you took, you will see that there is a style to it. And that is basically your style. Your style is not the type of people you take, if it's color or black and white, or if it's travel photography, or if it's portraits or whatever. Your style is the way that you see things. And that's recognizable in the way that you photograph the light, your timing, the feeling people get for the photographs. That's your style. So in that way, it's very easy that you walk around with a camera and you take photographs, and as you start sharing those photographs with people, they're going to make comments and say, wow, this is beautiful, I've never seen this like this, even they walk the same street many times every week. And so we are back to writing to be read, that you should take photographs, or basically you do take photographs for them to be looked at. You could say you can look at them, but it's also a communication you can share with others. And sharing photographs with others can be a little bit painful. You put them on Instagram or Flickr or somewhere online, and then somebody criticizes. But then you should look at maybe 199 people likes it and one person criticizes something that is not really relevant. There's many things to photograph, and there is basically no right or wrong rules for how or what you should photograph. If you like to photograph doorknobs or doors or buildings or flowers, people, even you could say even if you want to photograph homeless, just go ahead and do it if it means something to you and you can make it into some sort of communication. But that is part of your style, that whenever you see a photograph, you take it. And it's not, I have the same, so I mean, it's not like every photograph I take is my photograph or what I wanted to do. And that's the good thing. You could say you walk out, maybe you take 100 or 200 photographs, you go home and edit, and maybe you edit it down to 20 photographs that means something to you. The rest was just rehearsal, doesn't really matter. It's not part of your communication, and you could say just like your right to be read, nobody reads everything you write because you have lots of notes and first drafts and second drafts. The only thing that you show is the final thing, that this is what I wanted to say with this. So that's basically all I had to say today. Remember that below the video there is free downloads, and thank you for watching. Until I see you next time, remember to always wear a camera.